I call to order this regular select board meeting for Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Are there adjustments to the agenda?
I have one. Nate brought in some tree removal estimates on Tuesday after the packet was released. I can just tell you that they've all been vetted by Don Toby, the tree warden, and we have 3 estimates, and I'd like to add that to the agenda if we could.
Okay.
I would object to that.
Okay.
I will accept your objection and respect that.
We'll put it on next time.
Okay. They probably aren't cutting trees this week.
No, I think it was just to get on the schedule, but that's okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Any other adjustments?
Yep.
So any opportunity somebody wants to take for opening comment, public comment? Seeing none, hearing none, we will move to the main agenda that was published as it was published. And I want to begin by me moving that we enter executive session under 1 VSA section 313A paragraph 3 for the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The ayes carry that motion 3-0. I move that at 6:59, we return to open session from executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 2-0. So we have Kim Spaulding here seeking a board appointment. And you wrote a nice note that's in our packet, and you wrote a nice, desire to welcome, I guess. So tell us, for the sake of the open session, because I think it's important if people look at this recording, it's important for people to know the mechanics of how things work. And so either of you can say a little bit more about the board and what your desire is to contribute to the board. And so on. It gives a lead into other people.
I can explain the mechanics.
Okay.
And then anything else. Well, there's 7 board members that comprise the Park District Board of Trustees. 4 are from Jericho and 3 are from Underhill based on population. When a board member has to resign for family reasons, life reasons, whatever, sometimes there's an open vacancy as a result. And that was the case. Amber Renshaw, with 2 kids in middle school and a part-time job and lots of other stuff going on, simply couldn't continue as a board member. So that created a vacancy. Now, if the vacancy happens, let's say before town meeting, before the petitions are due, then what Kim would need to do is run around with the petition and get 30 or so signatures. Mm-hmm. And then her name would have been on the ballot at town. Well, would have been, because town meeting hasn't happened. But Kim notified us that she was interested. She's been at a number of our meetings, and we walked at the park, plus she's at the park daily with her dog. It was too late for the petition. It was after the end of January, or actually the first part of February. So that being the case, then the mechanics is that we do our interviews of her. As a board, we vote on whether or not we want to accept her to join our board. And at that point, we notify Brad to get on the agenda, because at that point, that she's representing Underhill, it's the Underhill Selectboard that would appoint her to the remaining term, which is 2 years.
Mhm.
So
So,
that's the mechanics of
That's
it.
very helpful, thank you.
I know it's confusing.
yeah, that is helpful because I do know that it's an elected position.
It is.
But just like, the board appointed Patty
Mhm.
to fill in a vacancy
Right.
until, she could run.
Uh-huh.
And so you're filling out an existing
An
term.
existing, yes,
What is
3-year
it?
term.
3
3
years.
years, yes.
Are all the board members 3
Correct.
years?
3 years. And so
Okay.
Amber was able to be on our board for 1 year, which leaves 2 more years for Kim.
Mhm.
So that's the mechanics of it.
That's very helpful, and it's helpful to have that in the record. So, you use the park a lot.
Yes, I kind of, no pun intended, fell into the position. I have a puppy. She's 2 now, but I walk my dog there regularly, and I've lived in Underhill for eternity. Probably not quite an eternity, but a while, since 90 something. Mostly, I did leave for a bit, but I walked my dog in the park a lot, and I ran into Dave Williamson, and he's like, "Oh, here's an opening." Because I had to talk to him about getting involved in the community and things, because he's so involved and I'm so not involved. And I am recently retired and recently I felt like I should contribute something to the park since I use it a lot. So he said there was an opening, and that started the ball rolling, and I went to a couple of the meetings, and they do a lot. It was eye-opening, but so.
Right, it sounds like going to the meetings, you're going with your eyes wide open, and you're liking, what you see.
Yes, yeah, they do a lot, and I enjoy the wide open area and the park and everything that the park contributes to the
It is a
community.
gift.
So it is a huge gift. Hopefully I can contribute.
Yeah, and we're thrilled to have you, so.
Thank you.
Very good.
We very much appreciate your time and commitment, both of you,
Sure,
and,
yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I recently retired, and that's how I threw my name into the hat.
See where you are now.
I'm a little leery
Yeah.
of throwing my name into too many hats, but this is the first hat.
That's great.
So,
Perfect. That is good. Excited to have you.
it's
Good
lovely.
timing. So I will move to appoint Kim Spaulding to the Jericho-Underhill Park District Board.
I will second that.
Any further discussion?
Thank you again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 2-0.
Excellent.
All
Well, thank
right.
you
That
so
wasn't,
much.
that wasn't too
Thank you very
painful.
Yeah. Kim
I was
emailed me
biting my
and said,
nails.
how do I prepare for this?
You know what
And
I do.
I said, just be yourself.
Exactly.
No
Well, it's good.
preparation needed, other than, why are you interested in being on the board? That's a typical
Yeah.
question. Yeah. Besides that,
And then you articulated that really well in
Yeah.
paper.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I hope to have 2 hands to do it at some point.
Yeah, that would be good.
It would be.
well, good. Thank you so much for including us on your busy agenda. I know this is a
Yes.
Well,
super
thank
busy
you.
time of year.
Thank you very
Too bad
much.
tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you
for
all.
coming
Nice
in.
to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too.
Have a safe ride home.
Yeah.
Spitting out stuff.
Nice and slow. The way to do it.
Yeah, slow is good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
So it's 7:06, and the next item on the agenda is the Municipal 911 Coordinator appointment. And I give you a little note in the packet, and Amanda's here. And, I filled in, typically, I'm pretty sure that Pam Shover was the 911 Coordinator before. And typically, this position is handled in the assessor, office.
Okay.
Basically, it involves assigning new 911 numbers to parcels and managing 911 numbers. However, we've learned that the rules have changed and things have gotten a little bit more complicated. Amanda could kind of explain some of that to you if she wants, but there's going to be a little bit more busy work to do. But I'm here for support or whatever she needs, but I'm recommending to the board that that she takes over that appointment.
And Amanda, do you feel prepared to take it over? And the other question I had is, content-wise of the material, what she has to do. She's good with taking it over. And do you have the capacity and time in your day?
I do, and I feel confident. Brad and I have worked together on this anyway for the last, off and on, talking to each other about it. So it's not like I'm being thrown into something that I've never done before.
Okay.
Brad took it over while I was getting my assessor's stuff ready. And he wasn't full-time when he took it over. So now that he's full-time with the town and I'm there too. So yeah, we work together on it. I do feel totally confident that I have time to do it. It is a little bit more, the 911 came out with some new regulations last year. It was September of last year, where they want anyone who even has like a workshop in their garage. They want a number on that too. So trying to locate everybody in town that might have a workshop in their garage or barn or something might be a little bit intensive. I'll figure it out, but it's pretty easy to see with the GIS mapping and stuff who's got a big garage or something, and then I can always ask the people if they do anything out there. But we may run out of numbers, but we'll figure it out. I do have time.
That's probably a good thing to kind of explain a little bit, not to go too in depth, but Underhill is a little bit of a unique town where we don't follow the typical 911 standard. So typically, like in a 911 town or a proper 911 town like Cambridge, for example, your number is based on the mile, but it's based on 100th of a mile. Right. So basically, if you start where the road starts, say we're on the very start of Poker Hill Road, right, and we go up 1 mile.
Right.
If we were in a true 911 town, that would be 5280, right, or 528. I'm sorry, 528. So it's based on the mile. Ours is actually based on the 10th. I'm just gonna, for all intents and purposes, say it's based on a 10th of a mile, but it's not. It's a little different than that. And we're not in the same boat. There are quite a few towns that are like us. However, someday we're probably anticipating, Amanda and I, and we may have to renumber this entire town. That will be a busy process, but the 911 would work with us to do that, and then it'd be all hands on deck, I think, to figure it out. So
now is that purpose, the purpose of that is so that emergency services, they have it set in their GPS and they would be able to, they'll find my house because I got a little green sign on there.
right.
But do they also have the GPS
Yes,
in their system so that they just drive
exactly.
and it tells them? So
part of the responsibility of the coordinator is making sure that the 911 numbers are correct and they're in their proper place. So every year we get a packet of stuff, and it's basically paper sheets, and Amanda's gone through them, I think almost all of them through. So once the numbering's done on these accessory buildings, then there's really not much to do. When a new subdivision happens or a new accessory structure is built, then you need to assign a number, and we coordinate with Tyler Hermanson at 911. He's the director there, or the GIS person, and we work through it to get a number.
Does that mean my old chicken house would have to have its own separate number?
You'll have to ask Amanda.
Do you spend much time in the chicken house, Dan? Because if you do, then I got to give you a number.
Yeah, I don't spend that much time anymore because I don't have chickens.
Well, then I guess you're all right. I don't have to do that.
But it's still there.
I mean, we do have
Now,
2 roads in town that are done correctly.
property owners get defensive because of
Mhm.
looking at the requirements, because now it's the assessor who's doing that. And now I get a special number. Does that mean my assessment goes up? And,
No,
you know,
2
just
different
like,
Two different
It'll be
things, but
2 totally different things. I can
I'm
keep them
wondering how
separate.
people think.
I didn't hear that.
people, he's wondering how people, he's saying he's wondering how people think, but I think the biggest trouble is they might not, if you need to change someone's number, that's when it gets kind of dicey
Yeah.
because they could have a mailbox.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that's not my problem.
I've been in
Fine.
2 places where the address has been changed, road number and town and driveway number.
Right,
It's a
right.
big deal. People get really,
Yeah.
you know, your checks have got to change, your, you know, all
Every
then
this.
single piece of mail
have-
you get sent to you. Yeah,
The
everything.
number on their house as to when their house was built, which really gets confusing.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, that's the long and short of it.
Okay, so we probably need a motion to
Good.
appoint.
I'm
Exactly.
happy to put a motion on the table that we appoint our assessor, Amanda Bosley, as our municipal E911 coordinator.
I will second that motion. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 2-0. Thank you
Thank
for being
you.
able to do this
Thank you, Amanda.
task.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So it was on, I think I was away. I took Friday off, but email came in. Let me just jot down the time here. So an email came in from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, and I included it in your packet. So I'm on their board of directors. So each town has a seat on the Chittenden County Regional Planning. So they had asked, and I'll basically read what they're asking. They sent out this letter that they were going to send to the legislature, and they asked each town to sign on to it. So a lot of people administrators, managers just signed on to it, but I don't feel comfortable speaking on behalf of you, even though I'm on the board. It's you're sending a statement from the town. So I think it's important and this letter, as you see, please sign this letter by Wednesday. So I reached out to Charlie Baker, the director, and I said, Charlie, I'd really like to run this by the select board. I said, is it okay if they wanted me to sign on to it, that I do it at a later date? And he was okay with that, like tonight. So I'll just read what it says. In the request going to the legislature is, as Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission board members, we are requesting support from the legislature to provide full statutory formula funding to regional planning commissions. The capacity of our towns is strained, which has resulted in towns not taking advantage of federal and state funding opportunities. We continued underfunding of RPCs has resulted in lost opportunity and support for our towns. The property transfer tax funding is the foundation that RPCs use to provide support to leverage federal and state resources. We hereby ask the legislature to support full statutory formula funding for the RPCs, increasing the funding from $4,574,000 and $4.5 million in fiscal year 23 to the full property transfer tax formula amount of $10.1 million. So basically, we do get a lot of support. We pay dues to the regional planning, and they do give us a lot of support. So I guess what they're getting at is maybe they could give us more support, be more supportive if they can get more funds from the legislature. But it is a middle form of government, right? So if you think about it, we've got the state and we've got the towns, and then the feds are off to the side.
Yeah.
So their point is well taken because there is so much to do, and it's hard to take advantage of every single funding opportunity that you can. So they try to help us in that respect. So in the end, it's all our own money, but
Brad, and certainly the RPC does fabulous work, and I'm not poo-pooing on them in any way, shape, or form. But if we're asking the state lawmakers to allocate an additional almost $5 million more to them, that's going to come from where? From the property tax base of the state?
and that's what it sounds like. Full property tax transfer, full tax formula amount.
So that would be taken away from schools.
It's a good question.
So when I read this, I was a little like, it's a zero-sum game. It's not an infinite amount of money that the state has. And I would want to know more about where the funds are coming from, and if RPC is funded, then what is not funded, before I would give my level of support for this.
Don't,
Does that make sense?
when are they,
It needs to go
that's so
to
that they can set the tax rate for this year, correct? And I would think they wouldn't take it away from the schools, but they would add that money that would go into the statewide thing, would raise that a bit,
Right,
but
but
it's,
if lawmakers for the state are taking it from the general fund and giving it to RPC, then it's coming away from other programs.
and that's spread out over all the RPCs throughout the state.
Right.
They just add it. I mean,
So in the packet, I also included the minutes from the joint executive and finance committee meeting minutes. And Catherine McManus stated that she's excited about the number and the variety of projects we currently have. She expressed concerns about the inevitable need to hire additional staff. She wonders what the longevity of this funding is and asked Charlie if there's a way to gauge any sustainability of this funding. So I think the point she's getting at, if this isn't done every year, then our dues would increase.
Right, if they're hiring more staff, then
Right.
it's going to foist it on the towns.
Overheads going up.
Exactly.
so they're looking for money basically, and they would either raise the dues or have the state
Mhm.
find the money and give it to us. So it's not like,
I don't think they'd be taking it away from any.
no, I don't think so. I think they just add it, but it's spread out, and who knows how much that is per property.
So they would have to, it'd basically be, so when you transfer a piece of property, there's tax on that, right?
Mhm.
So if they funded all the RPCs in the state, they'd need to figure out what that number is. And granted, Chittenden County is a very large regional planning.
So they would take this larger pool that the state would gather for RPCs, then Chittenden would log in for their share.
Right. So it's just like us setting a budget and a tax rate.
Right.
So, but I think that's a valid point that, Catherine raised. But Charlie shared a graph that provided an overview of the 20-year history of the property transfer tax revenue dollar funding. He explained that with a third of the Vermont legislators being new, that there are different perspectives coming into play. Within the rural caucus, there's a big emphasis on helping smaller towns. So, in a really small town where they might not even have an administrator or even an assistant or anything, the RPCs really do a lot of the work.
Interesting.
So I guess they're pitching it. It's this middle form of government, right?
Mhm.
So if you have the staff at the town level, then it's probably not an issue. You know, you can go after all these things, but you think about it, it's almost like you're adding, you know, support staff for what we, and basically, I think, if you have the town report, I can tell you what the dues are, I think, for regional planning. I want to say they're in the 4,000 to 5,000 range. Let me just look here. But we do get a lot for our money, you know, especially with the, you know, the sidewalk grant was pretty much came to be because of the regional planning.
Mhm.
And as you see, they, you know, the sidewalk feasibility study that you decided to do, you know, that's going to be $50,000, right?
Mhm.
Probably. RPC's picking up
Yeah.
if we get awarded that.
Definitely get benefit.
We get benefits from it. But I think Catherine has a good point. You'd be doubling the, you know, basically you're doubling their budget.
Right, it is doubling their budget. I mean, it would be nice to know more about what they're thinking. It's a general, we're gonna increase staff. Could they tell us more about that?
Well, the problem is it needs to go,
They needed to be signed yesterday.
it needed to be signed yesterday, yeah. But I don't blame you for feeling comfortable. That's why I felt equally not
Right.
as comfortable speaking for you, right?
It's not a few $1,000s, it's several million.
No, I understand that. And then you think about all the RPCs statewide. You know, there's how many counties in this town? 12 or whatever. Or in the state. Hang on a minute here. Let me just see.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want funds taken away from our roads and bridges at the state level as well. Like how,
Well, this is coming from the property tax transfer, right? So that's how. So our dues right now are $4,882.
$4,800.
So, you know, basically, and another thing is, I'll just throw my support of the regional planning.
Mhm.
You know, I applied for a $60,000 Better Back Roads grant this year. They provided the resources, a group called Watershed Consulting that came in and did a free hydraulic study for a large structure we needed. So that would have cost us several $1,000s right there. So, yeah, I don't think there's been, what I saw, there was quite a few towns that had signed on. So, and they kind of did drop this on in the last minute. I think there's, I think they're just trying to seize some opportunity. Chris asked why we are receiving less funding from property tax transfer than previously stated and wondered if it'd be easy to have extra money injected into regional planning commissions. And Charlie said there are numerous ways for to fund specific programs. However, what we really want to do is move away from 1 year at a time. Specific program funding and receive larger base amounts each year. And it is true, they often, depending on the revenue stream they get, they have to make some hard decisions. Like the imagery was one example. Remember, we paid to do the imagery upgrade. The regional planning paid for that out of their own budget in previous years. So we had 2 years where we had the advantage of higher resolution imagery. They picked it up on behalf of the towns. And this year they couldn't do it because they just didn't have the funding. So I guess what I glean from all this is just they feel they could just do a lot more with more funding and help towns more.
Dan, what is your sense for this request? Do you feel comfortable or?
Well, yeah, I think that the state, and the legislature has a handle on it, and they're making decisions at within a larger arena than we are. And I am not opposed to us supporting what happened. But it is good to have it discussed.
I think if you read that, continue reading the minutes there, they've really good examples.
I mean, even if we approved it, they still have to make their pitch to the state.
Yeah,
defend
exactly.
it, and
It's a
get-
letter of support.
It's a letter of support, it's not,
It's not a, no,
Right.
no, the legislature makes the final decision.
Yeah, they're gonna do that.
I would just like to hear more about if they double their budget from 4.6 million to 10.1 million, what do we get for that? Like specifically for Underhill, what would we get for that?
Well, you would assume that we get more than we're getting now, right?
Right, but it would be nice to package it up and,
So it's
Yeah,
not
you're-
our, so it's every time a property transfers, right? So if there's a
Yeah.
lot of sales and a lot of movement, every time a property gets sold, there's transfer tax. So, it's not coming out of our pocket. It would be if you were selling a piece of property. But,
just, it's a
And that
lot
is
of
covered
money.
by the buyer or the seller?
it's covered by that's a good question. I think it's covered by the buyer.
I would think,
Yeah.
because it would, right.
It's a lot of money, is my lens that I'm looking through. I would support the letter because it's not like we are actually allocating the funds.
Right, right.
But I would still like to have a backstory about if they are awarded the funds, what are they gonna do differently? What staff level positions I'd like to hear more about their plans.
That would be a good conversation to have after the fact if they are awarded
Right.
and
And that
then
allows.
we have our meeting with Charlie Baker anyway.
Yes.
What does this mean for our town?
And that would allow us to tap their resources better, perhaps if we know what they're gonna do with the money and, we want,
Well, basically
if
the
we're
statement,
gonna have more government, it's good to know what additional government we're having, and then how we can tap those resources to improve our use of that body.
well, I think their statement basically says, the capacity of our towns is strained, which result towns are not taking advantage of federal and state funding opportunities.
I know, but it's a general statement.
It's true, but
It's-
you would
there's no meat in that.
You would glean from that that's what they're gonna try to improve, right?
I want more substance on the
Fair
table.
enough. So we're gonna take advantage of it anyway, whether it happens or not.
Yep.
You still have the choice of whether you use the regional planning. So you can not pay dues and not use them at all. That's pretty unusual.
And I'm not advocating for that. It's just
No.
like I said, it's
I
like
think-
somebody promising you a meal. I want to know whether I'm going to have a sandwich or I'm going to have a 5-course meal.
Right. But again, if this all goes without us signing the letter, there's no different.
Exactly.
But so you're not in favor of signing the letter because you don't have enough information.
I'm fine signing the letter because they have to make the case to the lawmakers, the
Oh,
state
okay.
lawmakers.
Okay, so you are okay
But
with me.
I'm okay signing it
Yeah.
for that reason too. We're not making the final decision.
But in the event that they are awarded the funds, I would like to circle back and say, okay, what are their plans with a budget doubled? What are their plans with the new capacity? So
Right.
that we know what they're going to do. It allows us to tap their resources better.
Oh, definitely. That would all come out of all of this, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
they would need to come back to the town
Yeah.
and, because they're already getting dues from us. What does that mean?
right.
If they're getting all this,
Well, it'd still be dues. Maybe our dues would be less. Their staff would be more, but I think Catherine had a good point. You build up now, you've got more overhead if the funding dries up.
Yeah, the
dues go up.
legislature would have to approve that.
Right.
Every time,
Mhm.
So anyway,
be part of the state budget.
Exactly.
Mhm. So, do we need a motion to authorize?
I'd feel better if
Brad?
I think you
you did,
should.
yeah.
I'd move to authorize Brad to sign the request document.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
And just I'll put that seed down and hope it grows.
Yeah, right.
In the event they are awarded the funds by the lawmakers, we ask the Chittenden County RPC to come in and just do a presentation to us at some point.
Yeah.
6 months, a year
well,
down the road,
We're talking, it'd be,
or whatever that time frame is.
right.
You know, what they're going to do in terms of staffing up, just to flesh in, you know, if they get the funds, what they're gonna do with them. So we have an idea of what the new services are.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 2-0.
I stuck the welcome to Underhill sign. Dan and I had talked about it. There's one over there, I think, in the corner. You can see the big wooden sign when you, or around the corner, but when you enter Underhill, nice to see a sign that says, welcome to Underhill. So that one's gonna go up and replace the one that got hit up by the central school. But we have others.
Yeah,
So,
for some reason, they made a mistake and they gave us others and we have duplicates.
yeah,
So it's nice to have that one. We can't find the mistake.
yeah,
But anyway, we only have one, just to give you some backstory on that. We got these signs, and you can see one just on the other side of Sand Hill Road coming into Underhill Center, welcome to Underhill Center. And this is by the school and it says, welcome to Underhill Center. It's right where the town center is. And, you know, to be fair, the other side of town, you know, we wanted to make sure that there was a sign there too. And so we put but the boundaries are a little bit strange because Jericho and Underhill abut.
Mhm.
And the Jericho town line is in the middle of the green in front of the United Church
Mhm.
to Underhill. So
Yeah, yeah.
we have a sign there. You've got all this busyness, and then it seems like right in the middle you say, welcome to Underhill. It is true, people don't understand that thing. But in actual, when we hired the sign, it was pointed out by, you know, Randy, who knows a lot, Randy Clark, who knows the boundary. He probably grew up there in that green. He says, well, you know, you put that Underhill side in Jericho.
Oops.
But it is there. I wanted to place one coming up 15 the other way so that people can, you know, recognize that we're coming into Underhill. We've had trouble finding the placement. Without going into a lot of detail, now there's a property that we own, and it's a little dicier because that's a state highway, and you have to go through V-Trans to get it approved. But we own the property since we had the buyback of that property after the flood, on the property at Silly Hill Road, which would be a good place. And Brad's saying that, you know, maybe way up by Underhill Station Road would be good too.
that's where you're just north of there, like, you know, where Scatcherd's Pottery is.
Yeah,
And
yep.
so then you go past there and there's a guy that's kind of got equipment, bunch of equipment in the yard, and you rise, just as you rise over and you first see the mountain on the left before Underhill Station. That's about where the town line is,
Okay.
just north of that a little bit. But anyway, it'd be nice to
It would be
have
good to
me
get that done. I
try
wanted
to
to do
figure
it
it out.
last year, but, with other things happening, it got too late in the season. So we're starting early and, maybe we could, I'm going to go up and eyeball it. And if you want to do that as well, and we can ask Bob to give his, sense of it, and we could make a decision, when the new select board, convenes in March.
And if I made the first initial contact of V-Trans, tell them what we want to do,
Yeah,
they might have some good suggestions
we
too.
we also have to get,
Work with
and
them.
we don't know how long that takes.
Yeah, it could take some time.
Is
So,
that hard to put a sign up on a state
District
road?
5
Right away, yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah,
will help us.
what's that?
District 5,
Yes, oh yeah, so I know the right people to talk to. And,
yeah.
and we just thought we'd talk about it and I can get started on it, I'd be happy to.
I would appreciate that.
I think it's great having welcome signs to Underhill, so you're in Underhill.
Right.
Yeah,
It's great.
Exactly. Same with the valley, you could put something out in the valley, and another set of signs, out in the north end of the valley, like when you go by the Valley Dream Farm,
Yeah,
plenty of room
Yeah.
there. It'd be nice to say welcome to Underhill.
exactly.
that, if we have an extra welcome to Underhill sign,
It'd be another good place for it.
I like that.
it would be another good place for it.
And we can put it wherever we want because it's town highway.
Mhm.
So, and it's easy there. It's a wide open.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of nice. All right. I guess that's it. We're at 7:38. Public comment or closing public comment. I don't see anyone on the screen.
So we're at public comment and we will move on to the next item, warrants and minutes.
So just the payroll warrant this time.
Correct. I move that we approve the payroll warrant for 2/16/2023. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 2-0. And the minutes for the regular select board meeting for Thursday, February 9th. I move that we approve the minutes for that meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved, and I would suggest tabling the emergency select board meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Because Bob and I were here, and we really couldn't approve it with one vote, since you would probably abstain.
Right.
Sounds good.
So we can do that next time. Very good. So we have an informational hearing scheduled for the 27th, which will be our last select board meeting for this particular select board. And, but this is the last regular select board meeting of this season.
Mhm.
And we will convene again.
I was thinking March 9th would be the normal schedule. And
And
then,
we will make a decision as to when, I don't know at this point why we want to change it, but, we are able to do that.
yeah, just so Patty knows, so you pick a chair, vice chair,
Okay.
set a schedule.
Just to give you a heads up, I'm away on March 9th.
Okay, good to know.
I'm
We
not
can,
able to remote in either.
yep, okay, we can figure that out.
And
Maybe, so
we-
maybe-
given the fact that that meeting isn't really on the schedule.
Exactly.
We can change it to anything
Okay.
that we want.
Anything after town meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So And that would be an organizational meeting, and then we would tack on business to that meeting.
Sure.
So we have two meetings really.
Yeah,
At the same
exactly.
time.
Well, at the same time, yeah.
But we don't have to, you know, I know CSWD, they call to order and they adjourn the organizational meeting and then they go into open the
I
next
think
meeting.
that makes a lot of sense,
I think it-
especially if the chairs change or anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good thing.
Yeah, that makes logical sense to me.
So we will get our heads together and
Maybe on the 27th, which is
And-
Monday.
and that's
Exactly.
assuming
Informational.
that you are elected, being the only person on the ballot.
I hope somebody votes for me, I will.
So, but,
We get one.
anyway, we can make that, we can firm up that date then.
Okay,
And, and the informational meeting is on Australian ballot questions only.
Only. Not only the Australian, because
That's what statute is
Yeah.
very specific.
not all the articles, just the Australian ballot
Ballot
articles.
articles. So if you want more information about the budget, that's done from the floor.
from the floor, yeah, exactly.
Okay, I move that we adjourn.
Second that.
It is at 7:43. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. We are.
Thank you.
thank you.